Okay, I think we'll get started. So Murdoch University is situated on the lands of the Whadjuk and Bindjareb Noongar people, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I also extend that respect to our panel members and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present for the forum today. And acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land is an important first step in working towards reconciliation. So I'd like you all, no matter where you're joining us from today, whether that be somewhere else in Australia or in the world, I'd like you all to think about the history of the land you're joining us from. So thank you all for joining us for this special panel event for National Reconciliation Week. The message this National Reconciliation Week is to be brave and make change. And for me, that means learning about, learning new things. It means taking action with your heart in the right place and not being afraid of, being corrected or making a mistake, not letting that stop you from taking any action at all. But what does it mean to you? So I'm going to post in the chat, a couple of questions, and I'd love you to be brave and share what this means to you. So what does being brave mean to you, or who inspires you to be brave? So to quote from the Reconciliation website, at its heart, reconciliation is about strengthening relationships between Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and non-Indigenous peoples for the benefit of all Australians. This Reconciliation Week is perhaps one of the most hopeful there has been for a while, because our new Prime Minister actually committed to action on the Uluru Statement from the Heart in his opening address to the nation. So there'll likely be a referendum in this term of government. And that means as allies, non-Indigenous Australians really need to step up. We need to educate ourselves and be active supporters of the Uluru Statement. So we're so grateful and excited to hear firsthand from these incredible entrepreneurs today. I'm going to hand over to Jeremy Chetty now, who is our entrepreneur in residence at Murdoch University, who will be leading the discussion today. So Jeremy, you ready to take it away?
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Jen, and welcome everybody to, I guess, a series that we do at Launchpad, where we really just lift the hood on some of the key, you could say, journeys of entrepreneurs from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different cultures. We've been starting this series this year, and I'm excited about this one because we've got some really cool entrepreneurs, some that I've met before, that we really want to get a bit more of understanding and insight into their own journeys of starting a business, being an Indigenous business owner as well, but really just talking as founders. And that's the whole purpose for this next hour. Is we're just going to I'm going to facilitate some questions, and look, I'd love to go off script as well. If you've got some questions that you want me to ask as well, pop them in the chat. But really, I'm asking some questions that really uncover what drives some of our founders, the why, the purpose of creating their businesses, and what change, what impact that they want to have on the world. So I'd love to officially welcome our entrepreneurs this afternoon. We've got Raquel Todd, thanks for joining us. Beck Ricard, thank you. Nice to see you again. And we've got Kobe Morrison as well, who's a musician. Thanks for joining us and making time. So without further ado, let's get started in some of these questions. And what I like to do at the start of all panels is I put the panelists on the spot and say, well, pitch your business to us, to the audience. Tell us in 30 seconds who you are, what you do, and yeah, why you're here. So maybe we'll start with Raquel, because I'm looking at you. I'm Sister Girl. Sorry, Sister Girl Simon.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Raquel Todd. I'm a Bunjima and Gariada woman from the Pilbara region of WA, born and raised in Port Hedland. I am the co-founder and director of Sister Girls Sign and Print. Sister Girls Sign and Print is a majority-owned Aboriginal business, and we specialise in road signage, mine site signage, custom signage, vehicle signage, and in terms of print, we do small format business cards, capability statements, annual reports, and we also do graphic design. So that's Sister Girl in a nutshell, and we have been around since April 2020.
Oh wow, awesome. And congratulations. Yeah, that's not far away. So well done.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
Raquel.
Very fresh.
Yeah, very fresh, which is good. Beck, we might throw to you.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Beck. I'm a Balladong Wajak Noongar woman. I'm working and living on country here. I have a business called Deadly Denim, and Deadly Denim is a clothing label that uses recycled denim and then customizes with Aboriginal artwork on textiles. We sell the clothing online, but also do a lot of workshops in community, going out to different organisations like women's prisons, DV refuges, schools. Yeah, and so that part of it is really, really enjoyable. I started Deadly Denim in 2018. I've been studying to be a midwife alongside growing the business, and I find that as an Aboriginal woman in business, it's really similar to a lot of the values of midwifery, women supporting women and working together.
No, awesome. And I've had the privilege of crossing paths with you, Beck, and you live your values. And you're a big community supporter, and especially of young entrepreneurs as well. So yeah, thank you for that too. Peter, thanks for joining us as well. Our fourth panelist has joined. Peter, what we're doing is we're just going around the room with the panelists, just giving a 30-second introduction of themselves and their business. So I'll come to you last, so you get a bit of
thank you.
No worries.
I realised earlier, I got on earlier,
Yep.
and then I realised you're in WA. And
Yep.
I'm in Victoria, so I was 2 hours. So, yeah. So
Yeah,
thank you.
No worries. So let's say we'll wait a while in WA, right? So, Kobe.
Kaya. Kaya Nyanang Kobe. I'm Minang, Bibbleman, Goreng, Kaniang, born and raised in Wajak lands. And I specialize in a couple of things, mainly cultural facilitation and achieving a level of understanding of Noongar culture as well as First Nations culture, and on a wider scheme of things, just culture in general. One of the main things that I do is an initiative called Krulung, which means child or youth in Noongar. Me and my team, we go into schools. We go into primary schools, high schools, early childhood, and we teach culture, aspects of culture through music. We find that utilizing the vehicle of music really helps change the schematic and brings a very friendly, comforting, nurturing way of being able to talk about these things. I've come to understand this through running a couple of choirs, including Major Morna, Kundam and Carnagil, knowing that with this particular context of gathering, we've been able to truthfully talk about pretty much anything together and still, remain friends. And so I noticed that this is something that's been of real importance to, for our, wide community. So
Awesome.
that probably
Thanks
was more than 30 seconds, sorry.
No, that's okay. And you got a very calming, relaxing voice, by the way. I could just sit and listen.
That's the microphone. It's a studio microphone.
Thanks very much for that, Kobe. Peter.
Hi. So my name's Peter Hudson, and I am on Jara country in Victoria. And I have my own business, One Yarn, which is so I make bush medicinal products and botanicals, and do healing and workshops, and so I am connected to 3 nations in Victoria: Jara, Tanarong and Yorta Yorta. And my great-grandfather is from India, so that's how I market myself, and passionate about reviving traditional Victorian healing, our medicines, and yeah.
Wow.
So that's
Thanks very much for that, Peter. And as you can see, our panelists, we've got such a diverse range of entrepreneurs and business owners here today. So I'm excited about what we're going to get into. So let's get started. So first question I've got for, I guess, all the panelists on this afternoon. is just share with me, you know, one example of I guess a personal or professional growth opportunity you've had in being a business owner or having your own business. And it could be personal, professional, doesn't matter. But if you just give me one example, it'd be really good to hear what has business opened up for you in a professional or personal sense. And I might start off with Raquel. I'm looking at you because you're at the top of my screen. So we'll kick off with Raquel, and then we'll go to Beck and Kobe and then Peter.
I guess there's so much personal and professional development as soon as you start your own business. And then you throw in the mix that you are culturally different as well. So you are always being challenged. So I think the growth is always limitless. And I think I probably developed more personally because you needed to grow a thicker skin to make sure that business does not become personal. But it's very hard to not be personal when it is your culture and you don't know any different. So personally, I've probably been challenged the most and grown the most, and professionally is exactly the same. And I'm sure I'll continue to have those battles. Yeah,
no, that's a really good point. And there's that old saying, you know, don't take it personally. It's just business. But you're right. It's actually, it can't be that separation, right? It's intertwined. And your values are being lived out as a founder, how you interact with other people, your customers. It's your own personal values reflected through the business, right? So you're right, it's all personal. So I think people like to compartmentalize if they want to say something mean or they want to be aggressive. They're like, oh, just don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it is all personal.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I think as well, it's hard to not make it personal when you've got to continue to educate at the same time. So if you are continuing to educate and it is personal, where does it become professional?
Yeah.
Because I'm continually educating people on why we're an Aboriginal business and why I'm doing what I'm doing and why we are so strong on our history and making sure that the stories are told and heard. You know, I'm continually educating everyone. And then when you think you've educated them, something else arises. You got to start again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, great point. Look, lovely. Thank you for that, Raquel. Beck.
Yeah, I'd say there's lots of things, but one standout for me is I think until I started a business, I didn't realise that I was a bit of a yes person and a people pleaser. So I've had to really learn to say no and put boundaries up, and even things that like values that align with what I do, like having, say, a big fast fashion company wanting to collaborate, and I'd have to be like, well, no, because that doesn't align with my values of sustainability and things like that. Just learning how to step into that confidence of saying no and having my own boundaries, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because I think a lot of business owners, especially early in the piece, you want to say yes to everything.
Yeah, you burn out.
You burn out, but saying no is just as important. And you know, I've been running a business for 19 years, and people respect you when you say no, and you can do it in a really respectable way as well. You don't have to be aggressive about it. You don't have to be mean about it. You can just have a firm no, and you'll get a lot more respect from that. So I totally get that. The no's is just as important as the yeses. So that's a really good point, Beck. Thank you.
Welcome.
Kobe.
Hey, so the main thing that stands out to me is that there has been a lot of instances in which, you know, people are wanting to be able to do what they need to do to you know, stay on top of things and survive and prosper, make a living and whatnot. And so one main thing that I'm, you know, like everybody else here, is very suspect with the possibility of you know, burnout and the risk of having to say yes to everything. In my context, there has been a lot of instances in which I've been asked to do things, you know, and so there's a lot of instances in which I'm just like kind of falling into this kind of rhythm because I've been asked to. So, you know, like I didn't grow up with the, you know, I didn't grow up with the like wanting to be a cultural facilitator, you know. Like when I was in school, I was just like, when I grow up I want to be a cultural facilitator. That wasn't me. I was like, I wanted to be a musician when I grew up, and I'm lucky enough to be able to follow through with that dream as well. But like, I just noticed that the need was definitely there, and there was a lot of people out there who were really looking for, you know, understanding and means of understanding. And so I noticed that there has the possibility of being able to, like, not only be able to provide the cultural consultancy that is needed here and there, but also like be able to teach people how to be cultural consultants and cultural facilitators, you know. And I think that's right now, I think that's one of the best, I guess, potential jobs that somebody could strive for, you know, like a First Nations individual who's looking to make, you know, forge themselves a career. This would be a great way of going about it, in my opinion. And so I want to be able to provide as many opportunities to be able to help them do that, you know, and maybe one day work myself to obsolescence and be, you know, feeling safe in the possibility that I'm not needed anymore because we're in good hands, you know. And I think that being able to do that for some of the next generations has really been helping. At least I hope so.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty deep. There's a lot to unpack in that, and I totally get about things that you don't know about as well. So like, you didn't know that this particular thing existed. Well, I know from an entrepreneurship point of view, schools don't teach that, right? So you don't even know what entrepreneurship is. You don't even know about business. And I was that student as well, where you just don't know what's out there for you. So yeah, that's a great point, Kobe. Thank you. Peter.
So I've kind of grown personally and professionally. I registered a business in 2018, and when I started, I just wanted to work for myself. I wasn't thinking about getting a website but thanks to the pandemic, I had opportunity. There was a lot of support for Indigenous businesses in Victoria, so I run with it, and I really struggled because I live alone, and catch up with technology. I found that really challenging, and then learning like online store and all the different apps, and like, you know, but I actually like learning, and so I can look back and see how far I've grown just in like just the last 3 years, because I actually moved to country Victoria, so I'm on country, reconnecting, healing my own healing journey. So personally, and then the business, so it kind of blends in, and that's you know, I get good feedback that I'm authentic, because I don't have to make out I'm anything I'm not. And it's when I'm doing workshops or individual healings, and it's not like work to me. I actually love doing it. So I feel one of the things for me is I have freedom. Like, I can say no to jobs. I can do my work anywhere I want. So for me, that's a real freedom.
I love that. Again, lots to unpack there, but the point you made about loving learning, Peter.
Yeah.
I think that's a big point. I mean, you constantly should be learning anyway, the good and the bad in terms of experiences as a business owner. But I think, you know, a lot of people think, oh, once I finish school, I finish uni, but that learning journey stops when it doesn't. You're actually just constantly learning new things. So I love what you said about that. It's always that growth. That's the personal growth, right? If you're not learning, to learn.
And it's like,
yeah,
you know, like I feel too, like you can have technology, but I'm like older, so I like reading books, and you can go and do that anywhere. You don't have to rely on technology. You can balance it out. That's how you know.
Yep, and a lot of the time it's free, so you don't have to pay for it.
That's right. Don't need a charger.
Yeah, exactly. Internet, yeah.
And I think,
Well said. Yeah.
you know, like during the pandemic, yes, the internet and everything was good, you know, and it is good for connecting with anyone. But I think people maybe, you know, struggle with remembering, you know, not to be so busy, not to work hard, burn out, work hard, but to take that time, like your cultural practices, your spiritual practices, what you enjoy, because life is too short.
Yeah, 100%. I think the silver lining of the pandemic has been just that, Peter, is the self-reflection of people's lives of, you know, what am I doing? Like almost that stop moment. You know, am I still on the hamster wheel, just going like this?
Yeah. For me, during the pandemic, like I did really good stuff, and sometimes you know, it hit home how hard it was. But the things that I hope that people realise from the pandemic was that family is important, and it gave the earth a chance to rest.
100% agree with all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the panelists. That was well said. Very good learnings there as well, and insights. Next question I've got is around what are some of the biggest challenges that each of you have faced? And I'm going to ask all the panelists this question of starting your business. Now, look, there's lots of challenges, so maybe I'll be specific. Just your one biggest challenge that comes to mind of starting a business. And of course, you know, I'm not talking about the pandemic, because I think a lot of people talk about that enough, but just for you personally, what has been, that comes to mind, one of your biggest challenges in getting your business off the ground? And I might kick off this time with Beck, if that's okay, just around, Deadly Denim and getting with,
Yeah, I think, well, when I very first started, and Auntie and I both launched at the same time, and before we started, we did a week-long program with Ignition at Curtin, like an entrepreneur intensive course. But what we found, there was lots of things like that, and there was support around. But I think and to this day, like she only just rang me before I got on here, we're still supporting each other on the daily stuff all the time. So I think, like, even though that was there and there was learning stuff to learn, it's the everyday stuff. Like even still, like with my auntie, to booking, getting in and using the booking website, and you know, and for me it was the same. Just getting my head around, well, how do I do tax, or how do I, like, I think it's the daily grind that and the startup, just having no capital to start up. So it's that real slow burn was definitely the early days was the struggle. And as much as Indigenous business support there is around, I definitely found other family members and other women, Aboriginal women I know in business, we really came together and supported each other probably the most. You can go to each other for any advice, put opportunities together for each other. And I've definitely found that was the most helpful thing in the early days.
And you formed that yourself, didn't you, Beck? So you managed to just rally the other women together. Yeah, well done. Okay, wow. You did that off your own back. There was no, like, you know, membership.
No, and definitely my auntie and I that did do that together would definitely, because we started at the same time too. She's got Noongar Tours, so different type of business, but just started together and just still support.
No, that's wonderful. I mean, it's lonely.
I don't know if I've gone off track there.
No, that's exactly it. I mean, like I said, one of the biggest challenges of being an entrepreneur or business owner is it is lonely. The
everyday stuff that you just like, how do I do this, or what is this, or what does this actually mean? Even right down to a loan application. I've never had a loan yet, but even when I first looked at a loan application, I was like, what the hell is that all mean? Just having someone else to ask, even if you don't do it, just like, what does that actually all mean?
Thanks for that, Beck. We'll keep moving on. Kobe.
Some challenges. I guess early on, for the most part, I was fairly lucky in the sense that I had a very supportive grouping of people. Oh no, I've been spotlighted. I have a very supportive grouping of people who were helping out from the get-go, and so definitely felt, you know, family was very important. Having people by your side and not feeling like you're alone on this journey, definitely a very important aspect. I think one thing that I've noticed about, you know, I guess being to an extent a level of successfulness in what you're doing is that when you succeed in your practice, it generates you know, it generates more exposure for you to, you know, get out there further, right? And I guess the main difficulty that I'm facing is not being able to attend to everybody, you know, and that I want to be able to like do what I can to try and help wherever I can, because there's so many, you know, well-meaning individuals who deserve, you know, to get some answers and stuff, and be able to do the right thing for themselves, and so, and for the grouping that they're representing. And so I guess as of late, this is the main thing that's been on my mind a lot, is that I receive so many queries on a regular basis, to the point where just looking at the email query is just like it gets a little bit exhausting at the mere prospect of being able to get that thing done. And you know, I continue to do it, but I know that I'm not getting any younger, and that I'm just like finding myself, you know, thinking about the possibility of burnout in anticipation of it happening. And that, like, you know, I think that one way to work with this all around this is, you know, working smarter, not harder, and being able to generate new ways in which you're able to attend to these people in a way that's different to how you're doing, so you're able to specifically accommodate for those people without you know, having to put so much of your energy into it, and being able to, like, you know, strategically divvy up the energy to be able to accommodate accordingly. So yeah.
Yeah, I was nodding my head the whole time, Cody, because I can relate to all of that. The joys of being a business owner. But yeah, there's so many challenges, but yeah, you're right. I can relate to all of that. Thank you for that. We'll keep moving on. Peter, what's one of your biggest challenges that comes to mind in setting up your business?
Well, when I started up, I found so all the legal requirements, and even now, like, I make medicinal balms, and like, you know, if you do it for a hobby, you don't have all that legal stuff. So I find it really frustrating. Like, as I say, I'm a, you know, healer teacher. I got qualified as a massage therapist. So, sorry, I'm just trying to think. And then I got away from that, using that word. So my passion is traditional Victorian healing. So you can't go and learn that somewhere. Like, you can't go and learn, you know, but you've got to have all these other requirements. And I find it really frustrating, because it's our stuff, we inherit stuff, it's our knowledge, it's our all of that. Or if you're orally taught, how do you, you know, explain to systems? Like, I get frustrated with the systems, and when it's not that hard, and we're the experts at it. So it's finding that, I find, you know, like we say with a product, I have to have this, and this, and it's like, no, well, I shouldn't really have to, because it's our stuff. Yeah,
I agree, that balance. Thank you. Raquel.
Yeah, I guess my biggest challenge is I am a woman in a male-dominated industry. So it's not every day that you see a woman running a sign business, let alone an Aboriginal woman running a sign business. So my challenge is every day I'm challenged, and I'm challenged in ways I never ever thought I would be challenged. It's, you know, something as simple as someone looking at my name and thinking it's very feminine, and, you know, it's very adolescent. And then I think, but that's my culture. So is my culture feminine? Is it adolescent, my culture? Like, that you're dissing my culture, and it's trying to explain to that industry that that's who we are, and we're in 2022, and that's what that looks like now, and that's okay.
Yep.
So it's just, we continue to have those challenges in those discussions, but it's bringing them along for the journey about change. And I think as much as they've been my biggest challenge, it's been my biggest growth journey as well. And I'll continue to break down those barriers, because it's okay for women to work in male-dominated industries. And we'll take on the rest of Australia now, and not just WA. So they drive me.
Yeah, no, I love it. And as you're talking, I'm like, it's your biggest challenge, but it's your biggest opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. How many people want a business run by women? In particular, Aboriginal women. It's not. It's no longer just a tick box exercise. It is there, and it serves purpose.
Yeah, it's not about tokenism and all that happens a lot. And also the fact, you know, as you were talking, I'm like, you know, we're still having this challenge. It's 2022. We're in 2022 and we're still talking about this stuff.
Exactly.
Like?
Healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Leading from the front. Well said. Well said. Thank you very much for that, Raquel. And you look, what it's a perfect segue. And I'm only going to ask you this question for my next one, is how have your cultural values influenced the ways you work as a business founder?
I just have to go back to, hey?
I see you're pumped about this. That's what I asked you.
Like, are my hands going?
Yeah.
Well, I've got to stay true to who I am and who my culture is. And I've got to lean on the strong women that are around me to get them to continue to break down those barriers for me, so that I can continue to keep breaking down the barriers after me. I have to stick true to my culture. And I, as much as people sit there and they go, yeah, but you're a businesswoman. No. I'm an Aboriginal businesswoman. And my culture is always at the forefront of who I am, because I don't have an Aboriginal business if I'm not an Aboriginal person. So I have to stick true to that. And, you know, I recently, you know, have heard from my family about how my grandmother hid my dad's siblings under hay. It's those sorts of things that they're the stories that I need to continue on, and then they're the barriers that she broke down. Now I think, well, what are my barriers that I need to break down? Because we're challenged so differently now. But we're still challenged, and I just think that we shouldn't be challenged anymore. Just allow us to be normal, to be a part of it all. But yeah, culture first and foremost, and what I can do on the back of creating a successful business will be able to deliver beyond my wildest dreams, I think.
I love it. I love that you're an example of that whole thing you started at the start of this this panel. You said about it being personal.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's a reflection of who you are as a person, then founder.
Yeah.
And it should flow through.
Yeah. Well, how do I not be Aboriginal? How do I not be an Aboriginal woman in an Aboriginal business?
Yeah.
You know, Beck going to New York Fashion Week, and I just think, how do I get to New York? Like, you know, why can't I build a sign in New York City? Why am I just bound by being a Pilbara Aboriginal woman? Why can't I be a West Australian business? Why can't I be an Australian business? You know, like, why should my culture stop me? It should actually be the backbone of my growth, and that's what it has to be.
Right. Yeah. I'm super pumped just listening. So
sorry, and I get my hands up.
All right,
I'm super passionate. Such a politician thing to do.
I love it. Look, I'm the essence of time. I've got a few more questions to go, so I want to try and plow through this. This is a question for all the panelists because I think it's super important. So I'm going to change gears now. I'm going to talk about a topic that I think is super important for every person, not just business owner, but how do each of you look after your own well-being as a founder? So are there any particular morning routines that you have, or any things you do to stay anchored or stay grounded. I would love to hear from all four of you how you look after your well-being. And of course, it's all mind, body, soul, right? It's not just specifically your body. So I'd love to hear that. And this is a bit I love, because this shows who you are, because what drives you and keeps you grounded. So maybe I might kick off with Kobe.
It took me a second to think about it. I think the first thing is music for me.
Yep. Gets you in the zone.
Yeah, I'm extremely lucky to have a whole plethora of music for so many different instances. I think that it's a very contemplative reflection on humanity, really. There's so many different types of songs, so many different gorgeous understandings that are portrayed in a very gorgeous way. And so I think that, like, for health and well-being, listening to the right playlist or listening to the right artist, right batch of songs really does bring me around. So, like, I have hundreds of different playlists on my Spotify and various other music streaming services that really just keep me sound. And so it's I can rely on thinking back, listening to a folk playlist, or a First Nations Australia playlist, or an old retro playlist of songs that my parents and my grandparents would listen to and stuff. And, like, if it's not that, then it's creating music myself and being able to sit down and noodle on the guitar and not have to think about anything else other than just the sounds that I'm making. I'm never too far away from my guitar,
You got it right there, haven't you?
and so that's definitely been the thing.
No, that's super awesome. And of course, it's science. There's science that back that up as well, Kobe, around how music can change the mind, like literally instantly, and get you into a different state of mind by listening to a particular sound or track or whatever it may be. So that's really cool to hear. So you got tracks that'll G you up and tracks that can soothe you. And, you got your love it.
All of them.
Awesome. Let's go with Beck.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because I'm always thinking, should gonna wanna sort of, when it comes to like, should do breath work, should do this, should do that. But if I really think about it, there is quite a few things in place, like having this business. I'm a single parent, I'm still studying at uni. It allows me the freedom to always drop my kids off every morning, pick them up. My youngest is at home with me. He's been homeschooling for a year. I've always got a podcast or music on with my earbuds if I'm sewing. My business has evolved, and I've started doing workshops with amazing groups of women that I never planned to do. And that always, even though it's work and I come back a bit tired, it feels like it fills up my cup as well. So I think I'm always busy thinking, I don't do anything. I just get up, drink coffee and talk way too much. But really, if I stop and think about it, there is a lot in place that, and I think it's the freedom from not working for someone else at the moment. It's the freedom of, even if it doesn't make me a lot of money, I don't care. Mental health's everything in my household. And I think it really supports my mental health and my kids with the freedom that it's given me. Awesome. And I take my son with me. I don't even ask. I'm like, hey, I'm at this workshop. This is my son, Nawashi. He's going to be here today in the corner on his computer. Thanks a lot. Don't even ask.
Love it. Look, it's all personal. Peter.
So looking after myself, I do I have a spiritual practice. I have self-care pampering. I use my own products. I practice what I preach. So I do like hobbies, gardening, because I grow some bush medicine, and so I do that. So, and I'm pretty lucky that I do live alone, and I've got that freedom I can leave stuff. Like when I had kids and grandkids, you couldn't leave stuff there. You had to you know, because they get into it.
Mm.
But so I can leave. I have lots of different little things that I can do, and it's for me, and it's such a blessing. Now it's gone. Been a bit cheeky, but I feel I'm really blessed and lucky that you know, I can pick and choose when I want to do stuff. Like if what I want to eat, do I feel like that? It's not a routine like, oh, that's what you can afford or that's whatever. It's like, no, it's all about me, and that's it's a really good place to be.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you very much for that, Peter. Raquel.
Well, I think everyone's right. Without our health, what do we have?
Sure.
So if mentally, physically, emotionally, if they're not all balanced, you know, we're not a full human, and we're not our true selves. So I always make time for me. If it means I start work at 9:30 because I want to go to the gym, then I'll go to the gym. If I want to start at 6 and be home to watch the sunset, I just do it. I think you just have to do it. And that's the biggest mindset that I put into myself at the beginning of the business was I'm not going to burn out. I'm always going to make time for me.
Yeah, love it. And that's a commitment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's unwavering.
Yeah, I set alarms on my mobile and it'll be so random. It'll be like, go get fuel. And, you know, it's just things like that when I'm like, oh, okay, well, go off and get fuel. Or, hey, like, take your clothes out of the washing machine. I'm like, oh, like, I've got to go home. I've got to go do this stuff. So I find that I set alarms or I'm sending myself emails and it allows me to have me time by setting those boundaries and committing to the boundaries.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to get everyone out on time today. So I've got just a couple more questions. And I'll ask all the panelists this one, actually. What's been your biggest accomplishment, obviously, to date as a business founder? So your biggest accomplishment that comes to mind to date, obviously there's more to come, that you can share with our audience today. And maybe I'll throw to Kobe.
Holy dooly.
You gave me the greatest reaction to ask the questions. Might be something on Kobe's mind. Biggest accomplishment today that you felt, you know, gosh, this is good.
Okay. I think off the top of my head, the biggest accomplishment right now is when I started Crawlong, I was about 20 years old, and it was in about 2014 that I first kicked it off. And I was teaching kids in schools. I think one of the first schools that I traveled to was Averley Primary School in Ellenbrook. And I think one of the biggest accomplishments is it's just the sheer possibility that I might have had a positive effect of those kids, and those kids are now adults. Because it's been, you know, what, 8 years or something since those kids were in that school, and so like the possibility that some of the kids that I've taught are now, you know, potentially making their world a better place is that's probably one of the huge motivators for me, you know.
And that's true impact, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why you do what you do, so that's a reflection of who you are.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little old, but
hey, I think you're feeling old. I don't know how I feel. Thanks, Kobe.
Yeah.
Oh, Beck, biggest accomplishment so far for you as a business owner?
Oh, that's really hard. I think the biggest accomplishment is, I couldn't just say one thing, probably, you know, like I love creative ideas. I'm always procrastinating, thinking of creative ideas. I think actually acting on it and following it through is probably the biggest accomplishment, and just the community and collaborations around it, that just seeing that an idea followed through, and just the community and connections that you make through it have probably been the biggest accomplishment. And also I'd have to say that I didn't sew when I started it, and now I'm doing workshops in community sewing. So yeah, it's probably an accomplishment too. My daughter said to me, you've got to stop saying that in workshops that you can't sew.
Love it. Thank you. Peter, biggest accomplishment for you so far in your business journey?
I would, there's a few, but one that kind of stands out to me is I had someone, a young lady who was like suicidal, and she actually messaged me and she said how I helped her, and one night she had this really, she goes, "You got me through the night." And I thought that's, I can't put a price on that. I can't, nothing. It's that that's that would be the biggest one.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, like I've had, there's lots of accomplishments, but I think if you can save a life, you know, and she's an Indigenous woman, so yeah, and now, you know, I've seen her journey, and that's awesome. You know, if you can, through your own stuff that you know, like a lot of, for me, a lot of my stuff is life experience. I haven't gone to uni or studied or read it in, I've lived it. So to help other people and to make a difference, that's, you know, that humanitarian. But for that young girl now to see where she's at and she survived, because we hear all the negative and all the, so that would be it for me.
Oh, that's amazing. I think this is a really good point that I just want to just elaborate a bit more on, Peter, because I think a lot of people get started in business going, you know, I want to help thousands of people. I want to help millions of people with this app or this product or whatever it is, right? And that's a really good ambition to have and big picture mindset to have.
Yeah.
But I think your point about, even if I just impact one life at a time, that's big in itself. And I think that's a good reality check for, and I'm just talking broadly speaking about business owners and founders, that we don't want to get caught up in trying to solve all these big world problems when we can just look at our backyard or a friend or someone that's within our close circle, that we can make that impact of just one life. And that's why I think it's amazing that one person that we change can have such a deep impact. That's your biggest accomplishment, which is amazing. You're not talking any big numbers. You're just saying you're just that one person. So I think that's amazing. And I think it's good to always remember as business owners that, good to have the big picture, good to have the, you know, millions that we want to serve.
And I think, you know, it's about, for me, it's about keeping it real, you know, like
even better.
Sometimes you can get all this fake, that's okay, but I am who I am. This is what I do. And I, like I said, you know, I don't see it as work. I love it. And I do get other good feedback, but you know, that's what stood out for me right now is a big accomplishment.
No, wonderful. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you for the good feedback too.
No worries. Raquel.
I had staff. I guess that was, you know, one of my biggest accomplishments. It's all good and well to, you know, to have a business, but to allow the growth within your business where you get to a point where you can now hire people to come along your journey, but you also get to go along with their journey. I have employed a customer service officer and a graphic designer. And my graphic designer runs her own business. Right. So it's about, you know, how do I now get her to accomplish her biggest dreams? But yeah, that so far that would probably be my biggest accomplishment. A few other ones will be announced in time. Unfortunately, I can't do too much, but you know, you've always got to strive to be onto bigger and better things.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I know. You always remember your first team member, don't you? Your first hire. Right? Because you kind of go, oh shit, I think I made it. I think I can actually afford someone that's not just, you know, me. Because you're always paying yourself last, or you're always working for free.
Yes.
But
you get to bed at a decent hour.
Sorry?
You get to go to bed at a decent hour.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think everyone remembers their first hire because it is such a big accomplishment. Because you've realized now I've got a mouth to feed. That's not mine. that I have to, I have to pay some bills now. I have to make sure there's definitely sales in this month.
Yeah.
At least cover that person's cost. And
100%.
yeah, it is a big accomplishment when you know, oh, okay, I'm in business now. Just like you remember your first customer. Everyone always remembers their first customer.
Yes.
Because all
or
of a sudden
the
you feel like
contract.
you feel like you're in business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we just don't celebrate the small wins enough.
Yeah.
You know, we're quick on LinkedIn to be like, oh, we've won this multi-million-dollar contract. Cool. That is fantastic. That is amazing. But what did you do before you could brag about that moment? Because there's someone that's stuck in that moment where you began that needs you to celebrate that very small win so that they can continue to win that multi-million-dollar contract too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, social media is all that it's perceived to be.
Well, yeah, it's the highlight reel. I always say people end up just seeing the highlight reel, and then that becomes, you know, reality. So it's perception and reality where they're like, oh, hang on a second, you know, that person's doing really well, blah, 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 but they don't know about all the little shit that's happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Along the way.
Yeah.
So really important points. Anyway, look, thank you all. I've got one final question, and unfortunately I don't have time to get the panel to answer all the panel to answer this question. So I might throw to you, Raquel, given that you have just, I guess, freshly started your business. The question is, what advice would you give young entrepreneurs that want to start off their own business? What's maybe 1, 2 tips or 3 tips, tricks that you would say, you know, this, and this, in terms of advice starting off?
Yeah, take the risk.
Okay.
Absolutely, take the risk.
Yep.
Surround yourself with like-minded individuals and mentors that will go on the journey at your pace. And hard work pays off. They're probably my 3 key points that would wrap up my journey so far. And had I known a few of those 2 years ago, I might slightly be in a different seat. But like-minded individuals and mentors, so important, so important.
Yes. And like, it's not just about the early start as well. It's continually having that, right? Isn't it?
But growing your mentors and the like-minded people that you surround yourself with on the same path of your growth in your business. So don't stick necessarily with the one person that always gave good advice. Also go and bounce it off against someone else, because they might offer something completely different that sits with a different growth part in your business. So it's not necessarily the same people every single time. Don't be afraid to reach out to other people to be your soundboard. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And the reason I wanted to close off on that question is, you know, at Launchpad, we've got our Launchpad Academy. And there's obviously some students on the call that want to be inspired to start their own business. And this is a little plug for Launchpad, by the way, but we want to try and encourage, and this is the whole reason of setting up these founder journey series and get to speak to entrepreneurs like yourselves, is to really share those stories and that inspiration for the next generation of entrepreneurs coming through. So we have a 12-week program called the Launchpad Academy that actually allows students to be able to sign up for it, and we get to give them 10 grand at the end of it to actually start their business. So hopefully we've had some inspiration here this afternoon. It's all free as well, and we provide mentors and we walk them through the journey of the different parts of setting up a business. So if there's anyone on the call that's interested in that, and you feel inspired on our panelists today as well. I know I've been G'd up. I've been doing this for 19 years. And all of you have like G'd me up going, oh shit, this is cool. We need to do more. There's a lot more work to do. So anyway, Launchpad Academy, you can sign up for free. You can hit up the Murdoch website and find that out and go from there. I would love to now just get everyone to unmute because we've come to the close of our event this afternoon. And I'd love to give a big round of applause to all our panelists this afternoon for sharing and being so honest about their journeys and answering these questions to inspire us. So yeah, we got a round of applause. If everyone can unmute first. Thank you very much, panel, for taking the time, and thank you all for our audience as well for making the time. This is only an hour that we do once a month, different journeys, different themes. And thank you to Mel and Jen and our Launchpad team and Sander for putting these things on. So if you want to stay in touch with us as well, and of course, the entrepreneurs have been on the panel today, if okay with you, if anyone wants to contact you, please reach out to Jen or Mel, and we'll connect you to entrepreneurs. But thank you very much, everybody. Happy Thursday, and have a great rest of the week. Stay well as well. Avoid the vid.
See you all later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you later. Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.